Alright, so now in part 2 of my Barricade modding video, I'm going to be taking a stab at the clip modifications that I've seen Germ and SG Nerf do, but I'm going to be doing it in a little bit of a different way. I noticed that the Rator's clip system here, this piece that comes off the Rator, is almost a perfect fit, and when you slide a clip, I'm using my mini clip here, into it, it not only locks, fixing both of their problems, but it lines up almost ideally. I'm going to have to cut into my trigger a little bit, but after I cut into that trigger, it ought to work really well. I'm going to Dremel it out and hook it up and see what I've got. After that, I'll do the voltage mod. I'm not going to do the trigger activated flywheel mod because I don't like it. I think that having your first shot be really slow is a bad idea. Okay, so my table saw is actually really low, so I can't do the whole thing at once, and I've filleted my Barricade. But I'm just going to be taking out this bottom section that holds the drum in so that I can get the clip up in before I start dremeling out neat, even lines. So there's one piece right there, and if I come over to the opposite side I can get the other one. So now when I'm putting it back together, I have it open. Alright, so I'm partway through my Barricade mod, and as you can see, I've sanded down this. It's now really clean. And I cut down to the button on the Rator's magwell right here. The button still works, so I'm pleased with that. I'm probably going to take these prongs out next, because they're what held it into the Rator originally, and I no longer need them, and they're kind of in the way. The next step is to cut out the rotator for the original barrels in the Barricade, and I'll probably pad the dart pusher as well. But the real trick is just to, as you're cutting here and here, to constantly measure and make sure that you don't cut too much, because it's always easy to nick off a bit more with the Dremel, but it's hard to add back on. Alright, so here you can see that I've completely minimized the magwell. I took everything off the button, I took this entire piece off, and I took the top off. And after doing all that, it seems to fit into what I've cut out of the Barricade really well. I just moved this up a tiny bit, and I cut into my trigger a little bit, but that seems to fit really nicely. And then when I throw a clip in it, it lines up pretty well. The only thing that I've done other than that is I added a little bit of foam from one of those chalk darts, because it's a thick, heavy foam, onto the trigger push rod. And now I'm going to take this spring out and increase the draw by shortening it to half its current length, and then I'll epoxy everything back together and see if I can get this to lock into place like I want it. Alright guys, so I figured out the solution to the flywheel problem. The trick is to come in with electrical tape, cut the electrical tape so that it specifically fits the flywheel, and then at your end, instead of overlapping it, which makes it too thick and throws off the weight, take a small bead of hot glue and then press it down with your finger to really lock it in. So that's the solution to the flywheel. I've done one, I'm going to do another, but when I rotated it, it worked great. Alright, so real quick before I hot glue and epoxy this back in, I just wanted to show you that I've screwed back together the Barricade. I've got the magwell. The magwell fits perfectly in there, lined up with the flywheels. All I've got to do is lock it into place. Alright, so here is what is pretty much my finished product. The magwell has been hot glued on here underneath the trigger, and then right in there underneath where the drum used to be. And this is working fantastically. If I take a streamlined dart, put it in my clip, load that clip. You can see that that clip is going nowhere. It is so solid in there. Turn it on and fire. I'm getting some really awesome ranges out of it. I'm pretty happy. You can see my voltage mod video, which will be here, and that ought to complete the Barricade.